Hello everyone, I appreciate your patience on waiting for this video. I apologize because I got sick and that's why there's been a bit of a delay, but welcome to our Lighthouse Baptist Church 2022 Child Protection Policy. If you have your sheet with you, I would encourage you please to follow along, and if you have not filled out that sheet and turned it in to me, just be able to do so next time I get a hold of you. Alright, so first, purpose. The members of Lighthouse Baptist Church LBC, are committed to the safety, welfare, and protection of all children and youth participating in the activities and programs of this church. This policy is intended to protect our children, volunteer workers, and staff, and is intended to be a helpful resource in addressing the issues of child safety. Throughout this policy, the terms child, children, and youth refer to all persons under 18 years of age. Children's programs at LBC include infant to 5th grade and grades 6th to 12th grade, and youth programs activities involving grades 7 to 12th. The standards implemented in this child protection policy seek to uphold our commitment to the safety of the children and youth of LBC, whether members or guests. This policy governs all workers enlisted to work with children and youth in positions filled by the pastoral staff. 2. Qualifications of volunteers. Every volunteer working with children in the 12th grade and under must be a church and Sunday school member of LBC for at least 6 months. Exceptions to be approved by the pastor, that is, the senior pastor. Volunteer workers must be 18 years of age or older unless working under the supervision of an adult who has met the qualifications in this policy. All teachers of children and youth and volunteers for children and youth activities or programs of LBC, including those under the age of 18, will be required to complete a volunteer profile. There's a sample form attached to your sheet, providing personal and confidential information necessary to perform a security background check on each individual. All personal information disclosed in the results of the background check will be maintained in the strictest confidence. The refusal of any person to participate in a program or activity in lieu of such disclosure requirements will also be held in the strictest confidence. 3. Screening of the volunteers. Security background checks for persons 18 years and older, including a search for criminal history, will be conducted through an agency authorized to perform a security background check. The results of the security background checks will be reviewed by the church staff members designated by the church to oversee background checks. If the result of the security background check is questionable, the information will be reviewed with the applicant by the designated staff member. Typically, that would be Sherry. Number 4, confidentiality of information. All personal information voluntarily disclosed the result of the security background check or the refusal of any person to participate in a program or activity in lieu of such disclosure requirements will be considered confidential. The written results of the security background check initially will be reviewed by the designated staff member. After this initial review, if the designated staff member determines that further review should be made, the designated staff member may consult with the search staff member who will be supervising the volunteer, or conduct further inquiries as necessary after obtaining written permission from the volunteer. Without the written permission of the volunteer, the information contained in the confidential portion of the volunteer profile and the results of the security background check will be disclosed only to the designated staff member. Number 5, security. The designated staff member will maintain a secure storage facility in the church office for all volunteer profiles and search and results of all security background checks. The results of the security background checks will be destroyed in a timely manner. Volunteer profiles and background checks may be required to be updated. 6. Disqualification of applicants and volunteers. Whether disclosed voluntarily or by the result of the security background check, crimes against children or persons as defined in the Texas Penal Code will disqualify a volunteer from participating in the leadership or sponsorship of any activity or program involving children or youth. All convictions, charges, or indictments for crimes will be reviewed by the designated staff member. And if an applicant disputes information that appears on his or her criminal history record, he or she may appeal through the Texas Department of Public Safety. The DPS's determination of the accuracy of the record will be considered final and conclusive. 7. Reporting violations. Individual responsibility. In order to maintain a safe environment for all children and youth, all persons must be aware of their individual responsibilities to report any questionable circumstance, observation, act, omission, or situation which endangers or threatens children. All questions or concerns of suspected activity of abuse or harassment by a volunteer shall be reported to the supervisory staff member. Should the activity of a concern involve a paid church employee, the matter shall be reported to the appropriate supervisory staff, elder, or pastor. Pending the outcome of an investigation, all information pertaining to the alleged incident should be kept confidential. A mere allegation of improper behavior by a volunteer will not be treated as an actual occurrence pending the completion of the investigation, and the church will take steps necessary to protect the integrity of the volunteer involved. AKA confidentiality. Number 8, incident report. In the event anyone personally witnesses an occurrence in violation of this policy, that person will be asked to complete an incident report. The form will be attached. Anyone witnessing such an occurrence should consider the following recommendations as to how such a situation should be handled to ensure the security of the child and to protect against physical and emotional or psychological injury to all persons involved. All incidents shall be reported immediately to the supervisor staff member if available or to the adult leader in charge of the event or activity. 1. Personally secure the safety of the child, children, or youth. Do not leave the child while reporting the incident. 2. Do not personally confront the alleged or accused violator of the policy unless imminent injury or damage is present. 3. The supervisor, staff member, and or designated staff member will report the incident to the parents or the guardians of the victims. 4. A duly authorized representative of LBC will be responsible for all communication on behalf of the church. In the event a child or youth reports alleged abusive conduct, regardless of where the conduct occurred, the person initially contacted by the child must complete a written incident report, which should include, as much as possible, the precise wording of the child or youth. In the event of an incident on a church-sponsored activity occurring away from the church facility, the same procedure listed in Section 8A will be followed. In the event a child makes an accusation of abuse or neglect occurring in the child's home, the person initially contacted will report to the supervisor or staff member for disposition of the matter. It's supposed to be number 9, but general provisions. All LBC activities programs involving children and youth, regardless of location, will be subject to this policy, including, as often as practical, 2 adults will be assigned to supervise or lead all activities involving children and youth. Youth-aged workers in the children and youth programs and activities must be supervised by an adult in the classroom. At least 2 adult leaders will be required for trips and outings. One-on-one discussions between adults and children and youth in secluded areas are discouraged. In those situations where one-on-one discussion is necessary to maintain the spiritual and mental or physical well-being of the child or youth, adults are strongly encouraged to take precautions to protect themselves and the child or youth from compromising situations. Please observe what we call an open door policy. If you see a door closed and there's adults and youth involved, just open it up and protect yourself in that. Adult leaders must respect the privacy of youth members in situations such as changing clothes or taking showers on church trips and retreats. Adults should intrude only to the extent that health and safety require. Adults should also protect their own privacy in similar situations. On trips and outings, adults are not permitted to sleep in the same bed with youth other than their own child. Discipline used in church activities should be constructive and reflect Christian values. Corporal punishment, physical hazings, and initiations are prohibited. Written parental or guardian permissions is required for all overnight outings and trips out of town. Open door policy. Classroom doors shall remain open anytime children are engaging in any activity without the presence of an adult in the classroom. It is understood that the circumstances may arise that necessitate the need for deviating from this policy. For such infrequent and unusual situations that are not easily classified elsewhere in this policy, the standards and the spirit of this policy shall be recognized as being in force. Number 10, prohibited acts and behavior. The following acts or omissions will not be tolerated or accepted during any LBC activity and or program shall be reported to the supervisory staff member immediately after the safety of the child, children, or youth involved has been assured. Number 1, direct observation or evidence of sexual activity in the presence of or in association with the child or youth. 2, display or demonstration of sexual activity, abuse, insinuation of abuse, suggestive comments, or evidence of abuse conduct towards a child or youth. 3, sexual advances or sexual activity between a person and a child or youth. 4, sexual advances or sexual activity between a youth and a child. 5, infliction of a physically abusive behavior or bodily injury to a child or youth. 6, emotional or psychological mistreatment of a child, children, or youth, including verbal abuse. Any adult in a leadership role who cannot maintain his or her own conduct in response to the child's behavior shall immediately contact a supervisor and excuse themselves. 7. The possession of obscene or pornographic material. 8. The presence of possession, consumption of, or being under the influence of any illegal drugs or alcohol. Consequences of violation. Any volunteer accused of committing a prohibited act will immediately be notified and suspended from participation in all children and youth activities and programs of LBC. Such as suspension shall continue during an investigation by the church under the leadership of the designated staff member, law enforcement, or child protection agency. After the investigation by the designated staff member or committee selected by the designated staff member, any person found to have committed a prohibited act shall be prohibited from the future participation in all children and youth activities programs of LBC. As required by Texas law, all reports of abuse will be timely forwarded to the appropriate child protection and law enforcement authorities. Such reporting must be accomplished in addition to complying with this child protection policy. 4. Failure by any persons to timely report a prohibited act to the designated person shall be considered a procedural violation of this child protection policy and shall be grounds for dismissal from participation in all children and youth activities and programs of LBC. All right, that is the last of it. We also have your template incident reporting forms will be on here, so you can keep that handy at home or wherever necessary. And I appreciate you sitting and listening throughout, and it's very important that we do this every year, which will be done annually in January, beginning of every year. Also, if you did not receive a form that fills out acknowledging that you listened and for the background check, just send me a message or come see me and we'll get that to you ASAP. So thank you.